Welcome to Dead End Street. This is Al. I'm here today with Mark from
Hey, hey.
uh, Trimungus Productions. We are here today. We're going to do a ranking of the nine Radiohead records.
What did you get
Um,
me into?
yeah. So, their their discography really runs the gamut. So it's one of those deals where if you're listening to not like most bands where you get into a mood to listen to that band, like because their stuff is just all over the place, and it's like kind of
Yeah, yeah.
jarring to go from record to record sometimes. But um, I had a good time doing it. Um, what did you think of it when you started? And but also it's back up here too, is to give us an idea of what Trimungus is and what you're trying to do.
Thank you. Well, Trimungus is the easiest way I can just describe us. We're basically an audio and video production company, right? So that's, I'm going to try to be my express version. I get long-winded on this stuff, but basically, we're an audio recording studio or a post-production video studio. So say you have an idea, you want to make a video, it could be a music video if you're an artist, it could be a corporate training video, explainer video if you're a small business. We do documentary style films and shorts and things, all that kind of stuff, as well as, with the recording studio, we do full on sound design and all other kinds of productions and, creating our own content, producing our own shows and films and shorts, as well as then producing folks for hire. So
Cool.
pretty much.
And based mainly in Western Delaware, correct?
Yeah, pretty much about an hour outside of Philadelphia. Um, but we do travel for different productions depending on what it is and the scope and scale of it. But the great thing about a lot of the work that we do, it's all post production. We can do it right from our studio here, so it's just upload the video to the interwebs and I can make the magics.
Woohoo. Awesome. Well, just so a little bit of background here, Mark and I go super way back, and it's
Oh yeah.
this is really cool for him to be able to join me and do these types of things here on Dead End Street. And we have a history with this particular band, so I thought this would be a cool one to start with. And I'm sure we'll see much more Mark down the line in the months to come. So shall we start?
Mm,
You want to get start? You want to go first? You want me to go first?
all right. Now, why
Um,
don't you start and then yeah.
sounds good. All right. All right. So now I don't know, like I don't have a real lot of contact and I don't do a real lot of reading online when I go to do these things. So I don't know what the real consensus is amongst hardcore Radiohead fans are. So
Mm,
there's a good chance I might make some people mad here. So,
well,
but let's see. So my number nine, I'm going with the debut, Pablo Honey.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So my reasoning is, so I mean, I don't think it's a bad record, but I don't think it's very daring either. So like when I think of Radiohead and as the years have gone by, I think of like boundary pushing and um, excitement and being daring, and I don't feel very many boundaries being pushed here. And I think it's in the production and the songwriting is very much of that 1993 flavor. It's one of the
Yeah.
only it's one of the only Radiohead records that if you put on and within 3 minutes of listening to it, without even reading liner notes, you can tell what year it was released. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and I would go as far as to say it's not even one of my favorites, but I would say "Creep" is probably the best song on the record.
Wow. Okay.
That's
All
how
right.
I. But
Okay.
some other things here is kind of weird, like hearing Radiohead do a song like "How Do You," which is really like a real straight like classic rock tune, and
Right.
hearing that with Tom York singing is just so it just feels weird. And here's the funny part: I don't think I've ever listened to this album straight through until we did this exercise here.
Are you kidding me? Really?
Yes, I'm dead
Wow.
serious. And
Okay.
I'm listening to it and I'm going, I don't remember. And apart from King of Limbs and Moonshaped Pool, it's the only other one that I don't own a physical copy of.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So but that's kind of where I have it. I don't dislike it. It's just in comparison to the rest of their work, I just have it there at number nine.
Interesting. Interesting. Because when we get late farther up the list, I mean that album ranks a lot higher in my list.
Okay.
Um, and it's funny because it hits me in a quick, almost in an opposite way that you described. So,
For
you
the
know,
same reasons.
yeah, but I mean, like, but 93, right? I mean, think
Yeah.
about some of the other music coming out in 93 I think about where I was in my music journey at that time. Everything's
Hmm.
related based upon where I was with what I was doing musically and what I was listening to. And I just remember when that pre-chorus guitar chunk on Creep kicks in, the gunk gunk.
Yeah.
I felt like I got knocked over the face. Like it was just like, what is this? And it's just, I was hooked on them from that song, and I've been a
Yeah.
fanboy. Well, I guess
And
you
the
could
funny part
argue.
is that part of the song, which is the part that everyone remembers, is literally Johnny trying to ruin the song.
Yeah, right. I mean, but it's brilliant. Like, it's like it sounds like the guitar is like busting out of the amp because he's just like, he doesn't give an F. He's just,
Yep, yep, yeah, that's great.
but so all right. Well, my number nine, whew, yeah, honestly, anything below, hold on, let me get back to my list. Um, yeah. It's like after a certain period, like I think after probably like Amnesiac, like those grouping of albums are very similar to each other, like I think sonically to me.
Mm-hmm.
So and I again I spent the week like going through, and like I started with Pablo Honey again and went all the way through, and there's a couple records I didn't need to listen to because I listened to them like, literally a million times,
Yeah.
and I already knew that they were going to be in my top three, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like today, like I spent all afternoon while I was working on doing some work. I listened to three or four records from the later period. I'm like, I kept changing the order. I'm like, wait a minute, no, no,
Yeah.
no, this is no, no, this is. But I'm like, oh, well, I really like this song. I really like this song. Like they're all about the same. So really, it's like after number four, they might as well all just be number five. I know
Yeah.
that's really anticlimactic, but I'm a cop out that way, I guess, because it's hard for me to pick. But for my number nine, I came in at the King of Limbs.
Okay.
Um, honestly, just because I think I mean that record came out in 2011.
Yeah.
Uh, it it everything's subjective for me, right? So it's all about like how get what vibe or feels did it give me, and so I had tickets to see them in 2012, which would have been the first time I finally got to see them live, and I was ended up being so sick that I didn't go. And it would have been for the tour of that record. And so I have a bad taste in my mouth for whatever reason. So I've listened to that record the lead, even though it's like I listened to it again today. I'm like, okay, this is still a good record, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna put it down here because it's making my stomach like I'm upset because of I lost $300 on tickets to see Radiohead because I
Uh,
was too sick, and I was living down in Felton, Delaware, which is like 100 miles from Philadelphia. So it was like, okay, there was like there was no way I was making a 4 hour trip on a Sunday night, when I was sick as a dog to go see it. So I just had to let that one go. So that's just my old man. Take my money.
fuck you, King
So,
of Limbs. Well, my number eight is I don't know. This is probably going to be a surprise to a lot of people, especially considering the one that it's generally attached to most of the time. But I had number eight. I have Amnesia.
hmm. Okay.
Um, so I mean, obviously, it's always going to be attached to Kid A because they were kind of recorded simultaneously, um, a lot for the same reasons. Um, and you can kind of hear that. Obviously, you hear it in the production, and you hear it's kind of like it's. But
So
I think
speaking of that, did you then have you heard the re-release where it's Kid Amnesiac?
you listen to them together. I mean,
Okay.
well, not for this exercise, but I've
But they
recon.
rearranged them. They did it. They actually re-released it as Kid
Oh yes, I think
Amnesiac, and
that's
they
right. So
put
they
the
put them all
whole
together and mixed it.
and they put it
Yeah.
together and what they wanted their ideal track. Because I have it on vinyl. It's like a five record. It's like a five vinyl like record because it's both
Uh-huh.
records mashed together. So it's yeah. So yeah. I mean, I think they finally said, well, we're gonna. This is what our vision was, and it's
Yeah.
interesting how they decided to break them up. But
Yeah. I think it's like I think the on the original release, I think Amnesiac's a little bit more up and down. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, Packed Like Sardines is, I thought was an odd album opener, but was it really the album opener? Because the album opener is really everything in its right place. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
hmm
obviously, Pyramid Song is unnerving. Has got that awesome time signature. It's probably even better live than it is on the record, which is happens
yeah,
a lot with Radiohead. Um, but I mean, you and What Army is good. I might be wrong. Is an awesome swampy stomper. Knives Out has some awesome acoustic guitars intertwining with the electric and um, Life in a Glass House. I like quite a bit. There's a lot of really good songs on here. I just feel like there's a little bit more. The quality is a little bit more up and down. Was a lot more up and down than Kid A, I feel. But that's
hmm.
kind of where I have it placed.
My number eight. Ooh, this was like a it was a tough one. So my seven and eight, I like even as we started, I was flipping them again. So my number eight is Hail to the Thief.
Okay.
It I don't know. Like I listened to that one all the way through again today, and again, I'm like there was like a good three or four songs. I'm like, okay, that's a banger. Oh, that's a
Yeah.
banger. Oh, that's a banger. Oh, damn it. I guess it's got to go higher on my list because again, that was originally gonna be my number nine. And I'm like, wait a minute, no,
Wow.
I can't do that. Like I'm just
Yeah.
that's the problem. Like after I get below number four or five, it's like I just can't do
Yeah.
it. Uh, but um. Yeah, it just Backdrifts the number four track on that
Oh yeah.
just so good. Like I don't know, it's I can't. If I just mix them all up together in one album, like okay, it's that album.
Well, my number seven is going to
Mm,
be is King of Limbs.
okay,
So, but I have a feeling that's probably Phil Selway's number nine because I'm not sure what he did on the album. To be honest, there's not really any live drums on it, and there's a lot of like piano songs, and but um,
he went and he hit the sampler button.
yeah, right. Yeah. I think actually even Johnny told him to stop touching that too. Um, yeah, I was did some a little bit of reading on it too. I remember reading like Nigel Godrich, the producer.
Hmm.
He had it was like a shit fest trying to get through the album with these guys for this. And I think the exact quote was he expressed his pleasure saying the recording sessions were a gigantic mess that took over a year and a half to unravel.
That
So
sounds like a
I
good
think,
time.
yeah, I don't envy his job there, but I think what the deal is, I think with the album, it's almost like two EPs that were glued together in a way.
Mm,
Because the first half of the album is very electronic, a lot of electronic beats and much more digital shit going on. And the
right.
end of it has some like folky stuff with like
Hmm.
piano and then much more traditional song structures at the end of the album. So like it's almost like if you can get through the first three songs in the album, you're treated to because I mean Bloom and Mr. Magpie are okay. Little by Little has decent guitar work. I think Lotus Flower is awesome. You know,
Mm,
um, I love when Tom sings in falsetto. I fall for it almost every time. Codex is an awesome piano ballad. Give Up the Ghost is ambitious mix of samples with like some really cool, pretty acoustic folk um, guitar melodies on top. And then it ends with Separator, which is a killer Colin bass line as usual. But all in all, I think it was, I think they were just wanted to, it was going to be a hard thing to sell to the general public anyway. I thought they generally had a hard time digesting it, and I'm not really sure they cared.
Probably not. I mean, they
Um,
like to do their own thing.
yeah, and I think a lot of the King of Limbs too, also to me kind of sounded like a Tom solo album in some ways. Like it really wasn't. Like I'm not sure what Ed and Phil are doing on this album. Like there's not real a whole lot guitar or drums going on in the album. It's mostly some bass lines and Johnny programming stuff and Tom playing some piano and singing. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I don't dislike
Hey,
the album.
well,
It's
let's see. What year did that one come out again? That was
Limbs was 2011.
right. I'm trying to think when did because Tom York's had he
Eraser
also
was
had
out
his
before that.
right.
Eraser was before. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So he was
it
like,
sounds like it just kind of bled into into I
yeah,
think those sessions because
yeah, I think it did.
yeah.
But
Because I
it's
think
not
it
a
was
bad.
around the time he did that movie the where
Yes.
the with David Bowie played Tesla.
Yes.
The I can't remember the name of it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like a one run on Tom York solo album, I guess.
Minus
That's
some of
just
the
probably
remakes.
why I probably it was down on my lower on my list because it was just
Yeah.
like, all right,
I don't feel like there's a whole lot of input from the rest of the guys on the record. And, it kind of shows because the more input you have from all five, I feel like you get the true Radiohead experience. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. My number seven. Tough. I put in rainbows. At
Okay.
number seven. Again, killing me. A good record. That was another one I listened to start to finish today,
Yeah.
and it was just like, that was again. I kept fighting for just to be in a different place. So that's why I ended up going with it. That was what 2007. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
2007.
Can't believe
So
it's that long ago. I still think of it as one of their newer records.
I know, right?
It's like
Yeah,
16 years ago.
yeah.
But
And 2007 was a dark year for me. So that's we'll leave it at that.
oh yeah, well you can yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. Like I mean, you live with these records, and like they sometimes they land in a part of your life you really don't want to go back and listen to. You know what I mean? So and then you just have a bad feeling about the feeling about hearing it again, and it doesn't. You know, you're
Yeah,
obviously not going
yeah.
to make it number two for that reason. You know what I mean?
Ah! Maybe if I was in my
Yeah,
20s.
yeah,
The pain.
yeah. My number six is going to be "Hail to the Thief"
Okay.
from '03. So if it's go back and like, I mean, so they just got done with Kid A and Amnesiac. So they don't completely abandon all the electronic elements, but they do bring back a lot more guitars and a lot more live performance in the studio. It runs a bit long, which I think probably hurts the album a little bit. I think it's what 14 songs or something. And Radiohead usually doesn't do that. Usually they kind of stick to the 10-song format, get right to the point, in and out. But it's not like there's anything really bad on it. I mean, two plus two equals
No, but
five. Good opener. Sail to the Moon is awesome. Beautiful atmospheric, stuff. Go to Sleep, Where I End and You Begin, We Suck Blood. Uh, There is one of my favorite Radiohead songs. I love that song.
yes.
And it has on there too, like I remember I always thought that it kind of had like a Juju era Banshees feel to it. And then I went back doing reading years later, I found out that it was actually literally the inspiration for Johnny when he wrote the riff because he had just been like listening to that. So yeah, which is kind of cool that I picked that out and like it's literally he was thinking.
That's cool.
Um, Punch Up. That's awesome. Um, and they always do a good job of with opening tracks and the final track on the album. And Wolf at the Door really is no exception. Really another really good album. It's a
Oh
solid
my
album.
gosh.
I mean, the album, the song, there's not,
2003, buddy. 20 years ago.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, you look at it too, because it's like, yeah, it's almost an hour long and it's got like 14 songs, I think. But there's only one song in the album that's over 5 minutes. So it's not like the songs are overstaying their welcomes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They are, everything on there is good, but it just so happens that I think that there's five albums I think are better. That's all.
Yeah. 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 I mean, that was one of the records today that I had to take a break halfway through and listen to something else and then come back to it. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
all right, I stopped right around there and then picked it back up from there and finished it. I was like, all right, to that point, it's like, all right, I wasn't like, I didn't, my, like 2 o'clock this afternoon. I'm like, this is kind of moody for 2 o'clock on a Sunday. I think
It's a
I'm gonna
little bit
take a
heavy,
break.
a little bit
Go to
heavy for Sunday
go,
afternoon tea.
yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna go play some drums, listen to some Beatles, try something else, come back to this. Like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, yeah. There's like a little palate cleanse, but man, yeah, it's still good. Well, my number six, um, it some ways it could have been higher because I did actually get to see them on this particular tour and uh talk about a show. I mean, I took Jessica, my wife, to that show as well, and we saw them at the Wells Fargo Center, right? Huge venue, right? And to think of the kind of music that Radiohead is making now, to hear them fill this place with that, and the whole place is just like entranced. Like it was just
Yeah.
like so. Jess made the comment of like it's not like they're not making the music is making them. So my number
Wow.
six is a moon-shaped pool.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
I got, so that was the tour we got to, I got to see them on that record, on that tour that album. And it was, man, what a show. Like, shoo, just almost 2 hours of just, very cerebral, and just the flow from, I mean, they went back as far as some stuff from the Bends,
Hmm.
but, they didn't, they didn't really play their hits, so to say. They just, they played their songs that they wanted. That's how they are. They play the songs they want to play.
Yeah.
They don't
And
give
their
an
fans
F.
know that. Their fans know that. I mean, if the casual fans might not, and they might get pissed off, but the hardcore fans know that when they're going, you're not getting a greatest hits album when you're going to
No,
see them. It's not
no.
going to happen.
Yeah, but so
So.
that's but it was a great show, and it's a solid record. Uh, that's one of the records that I bought that on vinyl right when it came out, and it's one of those I love sitting in the living room late at night. That's a
Mhm.
great record for that. Just
Yeah, I'm quite
has a good
quite fond of that one myself too.
yeah. All right. Well, knowing that we're heading towards number five, so it's got to be somewhere in your top five. So,
But not yet.
hmm,
So, yeah. So my number five is going to be, and this might be a little shocking, and it probably would have been higher years ago when I was younger. As a matter of fact, it definitely would have been. But my number five is the Bends. Um, Now, I actually had this a little bit lower than I had it a little bit higher. So I just kind of split the difference and I put it here at five. Just because I kind of felt like it was a little bit uneven. But the thing is that songs that are good on this album are fucking phenomenal. And the ones that I'm not super fond of are like, you can still feel that they're still progressing. You know what I mean? Like
hmm,
they're not quite at the next record, but they're definitely way past Pablo Honey
yeah,
at this
yeah,
point.
yeah,
But I mean, like some of the like Planetelics, the Bends, Big Plastic Trees. I even still like High and Dry, which I know they don't like. I still have a fond. It might be just like a nostalgic thing. I don't know. But Nice Dreams is amazing guitar work on that. Bulletproof is beautiful, and it actually has what was probably my all-time favorite Radiohead song to this day, even 28 years later, and that's Street Spirit.
Mm,
I still love it. Still love Street Spirit.
yeah,
Still gives me goosebumps.
yeah,
Still does
yeah,
it. It's
yeah.
dark. It's not like cheery, happy goosebumps. It's kind of like, "Ooh."
It takes me back to my bedroom in Webster, in the house in Webster Street,
Okay.
and I'm like,
Well, just a little bit of background here. Mark lived near 17th and Webster in South Philly, and I used to live right around the corner, and I had moved right out of the neighborhood. We decided we are going to play and record in our band at his house. Um,
hmm
and for all the good times we had for making music there, it was a pretty heavy time so for everybody, all of us. Um, so yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from there. Yeah, 1995. Woo! Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be okay.
Okay. And it was okay. It turned
Yeah,
out to be okay. We didn't
yeah.
know it was going to be, but it's
No,
okay.
no.
Oh God. All right. So what's your number six?
Oh, you mean number five, right? Number
Sorry, five.
five.
Yep.
So my number five, so now we're getting into like, it's tougher, but my number five is actually Amnesiac. It could have easily been number four. And if I had one more day with this list, it probably would have ended up moving up to number four. Number four would probably drop to number five, just because of where my top three are. Um,
Hmm.
but you know, again, coming off that Kid A, there's the same sessions like we talked about earlier. Um, it had that vibe, right? And so when that record came out, because it came right on the heels of Kid A essentially, because it's all from that same time. Um, I really dig that. I still really dig that record. I mean, it's another one that's what 2001, I want to
2000, I
say
think.
2000. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
because I think Kid A was 99, right?
No, all right. So no, so this says 2001
Okay. So then Kid A
and
was 2000 then.
2000. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
which makes sense because they're right on
Hmm.
top of each other. Yeah.
Right.
So like Morning Bell. I just
Mm.
love the melancholy of that. It's just. Um, I know we talked about some of the songs when it was on your I think it was your number nine, right? So
It was 8.
number eight. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good record. Good record.
Yeah.
You know, that's my number
All right.
five.
We can go with my number 4, which if you would have asked me in oh, oh 01, oh 02, oh 03, oh 04, oh 05, this might have been my number 1.
Mm, okay.
Uh, I'm going with Kid A, number 4. Now, I think just because, I mean, it's because it is so eclectic and it is so crazy and it is so, I think just my almost 50-year-old brain, it's almost like I'm not there, but not that I don't appreciate it. It's obvious I still love the record. It's like, it's up there still. It's number 4. But I mean, just, you're listening to it, they take the logical next step from OK Computer, which is, more electronic textures. And it almost sounds like when they were writing the record, I get this vision of them sitting around and like chilling and just listening to a shit ton of Coltrane and Kraftwerk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
just going like this and just getting their guitars and it does have that kind of feel to it. But I mean, there's is there a better? There's not a whole lot of album openers, especially in that time period in the '90s and the early 2000s, where you have a better album opener than anything in its right place. An off kilter timing on those keys. I can't imagine. I can't play it in time, let alone sing it and play it at the same time. It
Right.
just and he does it with just such like doo doo. It's national anthem, tight groove, swells into a massive wall of trumpet chaos. I remember seeing them perform that on Saturday Night Live, and I don't
Yes.
think anybody in that studio knew what to do because it was one of those deals where like every once in a while, like you have one of those artists that go on Saturday Night Live, and like the people in that crowd had no idea how to react. They were done playing national anthem, and I think it was like dead quiet when they were
Well,
done playing. You could hear
well, if I remember, they used like the G.E. Smith house band to fill in the whole horn section for that, which was pretty
yes,
cool. Yeah.
yes, they did. And if
Playing
I
that.
remember correctly, it wasn't Johnny on the floor. Like
Yeah.
he'd taken his guitar off and slid it across the floor and just let it ring out, and he was just playing the pedals like a keyboard. Like it was chaos. It was chaos. It was awesome. How to Disappear. It's just timeless and stunning. It's a beautiful piece of music. And I believe that's even it was. I don't know if it still is, but at the time, I think it was Tom's favorite Radiohead song. Uh, Optimistic. He was a tiny bit Blind Faith, tiny bit Zeppelin. But in the end, it's obviously Radiohead. Idiotech just starts with that electro beat and just goes off somewhere where you totally did not expect it to go.
Right.
It's an awesome adventure. And motion picture soundtrack wraps up the whole thing in a sad little bow.
Ah!
And another groundbreaker for Radiohead. I mean, it was just like, for the time, it was so. I mean, think of what else was coming out of rock music at the time, especially for a major label act at that time. Like, this is nonsense.
Let's see,
Like
2000. What else? Let's see. What?
Coldplay,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
Nickelback. I mean, like, that's what we're talking about here. And they come out with Kid A. So,
Well,
you
what's
know,
funny is I think that let me see, that one debuted at number one when it came out in the U.S.
mm-hmm.
because of obviously on the heels of OK Computer.
Right.
Yeah, it was number one in it debuted number one in the U.S., Ireland, France, and Canada.
Yeah.
Well, and any fans who though were coming expecting another OK Computer had certainly a you
They
know
learned their lesson. And they learned
yes they did.
they learned to never expect another album like the one they just did ever again.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
you know. And then they reel it back in again and give you some more song structure, you know what I mean, when they feel like they've feel satisfied and gone far enough out. And then the next album they go even further than they did the one before. So it's
Yeah. It's like,
you know, that's just who they are.
yeah. All right, so my number four is actually Pablo Honey.
Wow, okay.
It, it's again, I listened to when I started kind of just revisiting and just preparing for this episode. That was the first record I listened to. So again, all the way through, and there's I like at least five or six songs on that record.
Mm-hmm.
Like "Stop Whispering" is one of my favorites on that
Mm-hmm.
record. It's just yes, it's that you close your eyes and it was 1993 when this record was recorded. It's the same like it's like Pearl Jam 10 or Nirvana in Utero or it's like you just know but the thing is it has that consistency. Like it's one of those like I always call it it's like an atmosphere record, right? You could listen to that record at 2 o'clock in the morning and it still has that vibe, or you could listen to it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just it's consistent. Like it's just. and just if you want to have it mellow, you could put it in the background at 2 o'clock in the morning, or you could blast it from your speaker. It's just
Yeah,
it's it's like the quintessential early '90s alternative you know uh uh rock and roll. So yeah, it's just uh I almost put that higher on my list just because I
wow.
am in this because again I am a very it's all about nostalgia, right? Like if
Yeah.
more songs on the record take me back, like suck me back in time, then it's like then it just tells me there's something about that record that's just it's like
And
locked
it
in
also
time.
it depends on where it sucks you back to. So it's like,
True.
yeah, I
Yeah,
always
yeah.
totally understand. But it's funny too because I go into these things like that, and I think I'm gonna get, and I do. Sometimes I get like the whole nostalgia thing when I'm listening to them. But then sometimes like I just it's I also I also kind of go with how do I relate to it now too. So it's kind of like I kind of it's kind of a blend, which leads me to my number three, which I didn't expect was going to be here, but my number three is Moonshade Pool.
Very
Um,
nice.
yeah, I mean, I okay, so it's their most recent album, right? Even though it's 7 years old. Hopefully it's not their last one, although
I hope not.
it's starting to look more and more so with the smile going and everything. So, but I mean, I feel like it's a very complete, satisfying journey. I mean, the record is very, um, it takes a lot of unexpected turns. I mean, they're not out of ideas. It keeps you very engaged. I feel like the whole band was kind of involved in the making of the record. Um, again, it's funny. It's the second time I'm bringing up the band. Just know everybody on the channel watches the channel. If you still watch the channel, everyone knows my favorite group is Susie and the Banshee. So I'll find it in anything. But when I heard "Burn the Witch," I if, if you ever get a chance, go back and listen to the old Banshee song "Fireworks."
Okay.
It starts out din, 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 din. It's very close, which obviously means I like this song. So, um, but so I mean, the great drama and the strings, and honestly, and there's a lot of strings in this record, and most of them are arranged and composed by Johnny Greenwood. And I feel like he's really got his feet under him now, and he's getting really good at it. You know what I mean? So it's another reason why I hope this isn't the last Radiohead record. Daydreaming is very cinematic and contemplative. Deck's Dark, another one of those ones that starts out mellow and it takes you somewhere where you totally did not where I think it was going to go. Um, Desert Island Discs sounds like it's 55 years old, not in a bad way.
Right,
It just
right.
sounds like a really old, like a 69, 70. The numbers sounds like it could have been on Houses of the Holy. It just totally has a Zeppelin vibe to it. And one of my favorite songs of theirs is on this record. It's Present Tense. I love that song. And I'm not sure you might have seen it, but if if you're watching this video and you haven't seen it, go back and see it. On Radiohead's channel on YouTube, they have a two-song performance of Johnny and Tom. It looks like they're sitting in one of their backyard. I guess it's Tom's backyard, and both have guitars, they both have microphones, and they have nothing but a CR-78 drum machine behind them. And they play numbers, and then they play present tense. That version of present tense to me is actually better than the one that's on the record, the one that's
Mm,
better than the studio version. It's just such an awesome, moving song. Um, his vocals on that, and the noises that Johnny's making in the background, fucking phenomenal. I love it. Um, but it's a, I guess, I mean, in a way, when you have these artists that you've been with for 30 years, you followed their career and they become part of your journey. When they come out with something, there's not a, I mean, I do look for good music, new music. But I gotta say, I mean, like, and when this came out in 16, it really, I really gravitated to it. I really related to it, and it became part of my life. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it was kind of cool for that to happen this late in their career, and this late in my life. So um, you don't expect an artist that's been around that long to put out something new that you're going to relate to on that level. You know,
Yeah.
and I do. And then like I mean, I've seen like festival shows online. I mean, you said you went to this tour, and the performances of these songs live are just
They're
on par, if not better, if not better than the record. I mean,
they yeah, they like I said, they in how whatever the capacity of that the Wells Fargo is, I don't know what it is, but couple tell you a few thousand people, we were all entranced and swaying and just like, in just completely captured by what they were doing, what they were playing, and it was just yeah, it was all inspiring. I think I was in tears. Like it was just it was that good, you know.
yeah, I
So
believe. I mean, it's an album I really like, and for me to have it up there higher than Kid A was a little bit surprising to me. But it's when I was listening to them, I connected with that album this time more than I connected with the other ones. So
mm,
where am I at? So I guess where are we at?
my
Your
number
number three,
nine,
right?
yeah. So yeah, I mean my number three is Kid A. Like I said, I could have easily had Amnesiac be my number four just because of those two they just pair well together, and especially but with the re-release of Kid Amnesiac where they basically released the whole body of work as I think they intended it to be
Yeah,
on its 27 record set or whatever. It's like it came on a
six hundred
pallet
and fifty bucks,
in
six hundred
gold
and fifty
foil.
dollars,
Yeah,
gold foil. Each record's a
with a
different half color vinyl splatter
500
speckled.
gram records like this thick.
Here you
Anyway,
go. Take
but
my money.
yeah, I mean, I bought it. They got me. Again, like you said earlier, national anthem, and when they played that on SNL, man, like my jaw dropped. Like I still think about that performance. Like it was so
Uh,
good. Like and at that time, like I was really big into, I was really off into my free jazz exploration with with John Coltrane and Ornette Coleman and Sun Ra and all
mhm,
that. And it was just like to hear them to go there on national
mhm.
anthem. I'm like, what? Like, okay, you just
Yeah,
again take my money. Like, just so
yeah,
that had to be in my top three without a doubt. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's a good one. Good album. So I guess that's going to lead me to my number two,
Oh boy.
which is another album that when it came out, I was managing a large chain record store when it came out, and it was already out for a while because it was the whole pay what you want thing that they did for it. So my number two is In Rainbows.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's just it's a record that I've really kind of connected with. It reminds me of a really good time in my life. Um, it it's it's another one of those deals where it's like as I'm maturing in my life, it's like you're kind of marching together through the years, and there's so many artists that that you bring along with you, and I just feel like this record for me, it's just very where they were kind of felt like where I was, and Nude is an amazing piece of work. Um, and when I read this, I couldn't believe this was true, but Nude is their only other top 40 single besides Creep.
I did
Isn't
not
that
know that.
crazy?
Wow.
Yes. So no other single reached the top 40 in the States other than Creep and Nude of all songs. It's kind of
I would have.
crazy.
I'm shocked considering how big of a record OK Computer was, right? I mean,
Right. Yeah. Didn't reach the top 40.
wow.
But
Oh, okay.
but I mean, Weird Fishes. That's what a great arrangement. Great vocal interplay between Tom and Ed. And you know, we we talk Tom, we talk Johnny, we talk Tom. I think Ed is so overlooked a lot of the times. You know what I mean? He's very creative also on the guitar, but without his vocals
Mm,
on these songs, especially in the live setting, um, the songs wouldn't be as alive as they are. You know what I mean?
right, right.
Um, All I Need is like one of the first times you hear kind of like a soul influence in their music, which I thought was really cool. I think it suits Colin's bass playing beautifully because he just has that, and Tom's got a very soulful voice. Faust Arp reminds me of what it would sound like if Radiohead co-wrote a song with Paul McCartney. I don't know why, it just does. Um, and Reckoner is fucking awesome. I love Reckoner. It's just got the killer rhythm section, awesome falsetto vocals, interesting guitar, great arrangement. I don't ever like whenever it comes on, like I replay it. I play it. You know what I mean? And it's
Mm,
another one of those deals too. Did you ever see the I think this was right after the album came out. They were on that From the Basement series, like
no,
on I guess it's on YouTube. Well, they did a bunch of songs from In Rainbows, and it's another one of those deals where like they did a live performance of it in studio, and it was better than the studio version. They did a version of Reckoner live, and it's great because you have the only one playing guitar in the song is Tom.
mm,
So you have Ed on tambourine and singing backup vocals, doing the at the end, and you
hmm
have Johnny shaking like a percussion lemon and playing a organ with the other hand. There's just so much shit going on in the song, but it's just they make it look so effortless, and yeah, it's an album that I just really have grown to just I've connected with it on a really more so than some of the ones that were out when during their supposed classic years, which are, but I don't know. I just connect on those on a pretty deep level with in Rainbows. So
mm. Yeah, like I said earlier, for that record for me, it had quite the opposite effect, just because I think of where I was in my life at that time. It was just like, oh man, no, just yes. I mean, there's good songs. Yeah, there's songs in there that I really liked, and I think that I have to go back and see and remember. I'm sure they played something from that when I saw them, in whenever that was, 2017, 2018, when I got to see them live.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that like Reckoner and they're just kind of like live staples.
Yeah,
What's the other one that they play all the time? Um, they play 15 step a lot too,
yeah,
live.
yeah.
Yeah, great record, great record.
All right,
So
let's
you're number two.
see. My number two. Well, not my number two. Um, could have easily been number one. Um, it's OK Computer.
Okay.
Uh, I mean that record. I mean, by the time that record came out, I was already hooked. Like, they already had me, and that was like
Mm-hmm.
the icing on the cake for that period of that sound for them, right? Because obviously, with Kid A that came after that, it started, the dramatic journey of them going into a completely different direction, right? And just evolving and changing. And so I think the OK Computer was like the hat trick, of that period for them, right? And like it couldn't have gone out in a better way, I think, for that sound, because like they just and that was a monster record. That's why I'm shocked to know that none of those songs got past number 40 on the
It,
charts. Like
it's
that
mind
doesn't make
blowing.
sense to me. Like Karma Police, really? Like
It does not compute.
no, like but and I think I have more like back when you remember when you'd buy like import CDs?
Hmm.
I think I have more like import EPs from those sessions than any other record. Like, and at one point I digitized them in my iTunes. I'm like, I've got 17 records, and like six of them or eight of them are like EPs from that time period. Like, between the Bends and OK Computer, because I had all these
Yeah,
like British imports that I kept buying up. But
yeah.
you know,
And don't sleep on the B sides on those singles either.
oh
'Cause,
no,
yeah, there's some
no,
great B sides from that era that were every bit as good as the album track. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. So so that's my number two. You know,
yeah, well,
mm.
it's actually my number one. So I mean,
Yeah.
I wanted to like be I wanted to create some controversy and do something like totally unpredictable, but you know, I know. I mean, but the funny thing is I know you got it before I did. So we were in a band together at the time,
Hmm.
and you were like full bore, like
I'm like,
this record, yeah, this record was it at the time, and like I had not, because I was such a snot. I was such a fucking snot at the time. Like I was reading like all the press about it, and I was like, oh, I think NME. I think it was the NME thing that did it to me because they put out the 100 greatest albums of all time, like
oh yeah, I remember that.
two
Oh
weeks
yeah.
after fucking OK Computer came out, and it was the number one album of all time. 2 weeks after it came out, and I said, That's ridiculous. Stop." Like, oh yeah, it's better. 2 weeks after it comes out, you can tell me it's better than Revolver already. It's already better. But the funny thing is so okay. So I don't think it's the greatest album of all time.
No,
Okay,
I don't either.
but
But
here we are. This is '97, so this is 26 years later. It's pretty fucking great. I mean, you listen to it 26 years later, it stands the test of time. It does not sound dated in any way. Um, and the funny thing is for a lot of this, I had to do some of this like at night, so I had to listen to it with my earbuds on, and I listened to this for the first time probably in 20 something years with headphones on.
wow. Okay.
With headphones, I mean, I've listened to it plenty of times in the car, and what I mean, but with headphones on, and holy shit, like there's shit in there. Like I says too, I'm listening to like remastered versions now too, so I'm hearing shit in there that even after all these years, I didn't even know was there. Like the detail and nuance that was put into this record. I mean, I don't Nigel Godrich. I don't know what he was dabbling in when they were making this record, but the sound of this album is just so awesome, especially for 1997.
Yeah.
And to this day, like, I mean, I listen to tons of different kinds of music. I am inspired by so many different artists. But damned if when I go to plug my guitar in, if one of the first riffs I play a lot of the time isn't the intro riff to Airbag, like still, like it's just, it's such a great, it's a great riff. It's a great album opener. Um, like I said, I mean, there's some of the stuff that was going on in the background, just Airbag alone, I never heard before, you know, but it's just so unusual at the time. And Paranoid Android, as it played to death, yes, but Homesick Alien, Exit Music is genius. I think my favorite album on the record, though, I think might be Let Down.
Mm.
I love
It,
Let Down.
yeah.
Like every note, every tom hit, every gently placed guitar note, the vocal harmonies between Tom and Ed again. I do think that Ed is like the Radiohead secret weapon. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
so, and then at the end of like Let Down, you have all that. like the crystally like Velvet Underground like guitar shit that Johnny's doing in the background. That's just amazing. And did you know? I didn't know this. I only found this out by like because while I'm listening to it, I'm doing some reading. I'm doing some Wikipedia reading, and I'm looking on their sites and reading interviews and stuff while I'm listening. And someone brought up, and I never heard it before, that the piano part during the "This Is What You'll Get" part of Karma Police is
Hmm.
note for note the same piano line as the intro to Sexy Sadie by the Beatles.
Huh.
Like listen to them back to back. I never caught
Okay.
it. How many? I've
All
heard
right.
Sexy. I listened to the White Album a million times, and
Yeah.
I've listened to OK Computer hundreds of times. But I never put those two things together. And I played them back. I saw a YouTube video where you play them back to back, and it was like, oh my god. Um, yeah, I mean, electioneering breaks up. It was a just good rock song. Breaks up a little bit. Climbing the walls, awesome. I think No Surprises is probably the life story of anybody who's on the spectrum. It's
Yeah.
just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No alarms and no surprises. Um, and it also does that awesome trick that a lot of artists do, but like I generally associate it with Robert Smith, where you have like that dreamy, cheery kind of music put to the most downer, depressing lyrics you can imagine, and then you get like
Ah!
a exactly, but the music and the lyrics shouldn't go together, but they do. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no, but they're haunting. It's haunting.
Yes. So you get like this single, like it's a pop single, but no way should it ever be a pop single. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I believe isn't
Uh,
that the video where he's like drowning in like a helmet?
yes.
Yeah.
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 Yep. Yep. Which is another funny thing because it's another thing that I associate with the Cure because all the Cure videos are usually Robert Smith put into these horrible, uncomfortable situation where he's like in a bed with spiders crawling on him, or in a closet, or a closet that's pushed off a cliff into the ocean, and where he's in a room this big playing with, it's kind of, and it's another thing that I associate with him. But um, the Tourist, I also think too is just from like the live performances I've seen, it's another song that I think is probably better live than it is on the record.
Mm.
Um, but it's all killer, no filler,
Yeah.
timeless, beautiful, disturbing. Uh, it's a 1990s classic. It's one of those albums that defines what rock music is for that decade. So I wanted to be controversial, but it's not. It's okay, computer.
Well, I
So
mean,
your number one then has to be
well,
what, the Bend?
it's the Bends.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it really, yeah, and that's probably a shocker, you may think, but it is like a black hole. Like when I start that record, I cannot escape the gravity of it. Like it just sucks me in from the opening notes of the first song to the ends of Street Spirit. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like a gut punch. Like, it's just, and it's one of those records that just, yes, OK Computer, yes, it's a masterpiece, and it really is. It's a great record. I mean, it could easily be number one for me as well. Um, but I just something about the Bends, like it's again, it's like it's a step away from Pablo Honey, but it's not so far, and
Right.
you can kind of see where they're headed, right? But it's
Yes.
so it's just like I don't
I
know,
mean,
like for their
what,
sophomore
what,
record, it's just you know,
what I mean, you listen to Planetelics.
yeah,
It's not that far removed from OK Computer at all.
no, no,
I mean, you could have put that song on OK Computer. It would have fit. Like it wouldn't have.
yeah,
I mean, songs on there you wouldn't have been able to, like High and Dry or The Bends, would not have fit on OK Computer.
yeah,
Um, But I did fake plastic trees though, and for years I just couldn't hear it anymore. But in the last year or two, I've kind of come around to it again. Um,
Okay.
because I mean, it was like, I don't know if the people watching this video were around in 1995, but you really kind of got bludgeoned with fake plastic trees for about a year and a half there. Like it was
Okay.
everywhere you went. But you know, I can tell you about 15, 20 songs from that time era that I can never hear again because they
Right.
were just,
Right.
but I've come around quite a bit to fake plastic trees again. As a matter of, I
Okay.
mean, like I'm more moved by it now than I was when I was 21 years old.
Okay.
But
No, it's just a solid record. It really is. But again, like, a year from now, I may if we did this again, probably my list could be completely different order. Who knows? Like, it's just,
yeah,
it's hard to say. I mean, like now, like I'm gonna go back and probably gonna give Hail to the Thief a few more goes and see if I can shake the bad juju out of it. And
just shake the bad juju out of In Rainbows for sure.
yeah, that too.
I actually had
I'm,
to do that with the Beatles.
mm,
I
I
had to go
bet
back and yeah, I had to go back and just listen to a shit ton of Beatles for months to just clean it all off and take it
start
away from the
again.
period that I was originally associated with. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
works.
yeah.
It does
Okay.
work, but it takes a lot of listening to it.
Well, I'm deep in my Beatles conditioning right now. Like I said, we said off air. I'm in like let it be phase right now where I want to go record a record the way they recorded that record so bad. Like it's just,
That would be great.
so
Yeah, that would be awesome. But oh, well, so we did it. We're done. We did the
Phew.
Radiohead discography. I you know what I mean? It's funny because I wasn't. I got the idea to kind of do it because it was the first one you and I were doing, and I was kind of like, am I really in like the headspace for Radiohead right now? You know what I mean? And I did, you know what I mean? And honestly, like even in between listening, I've been listening to it in the car, and I've been kind of just like kind of back in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like watching, even like later, I was even watching like a couple of the festival shows. You know what I mean on YouTube and getting into those again. And you know, I think there's a reason they are where they are.
Yeah.
You know, they've changed mainstream rock for good. I mean, they might have actually ended it in a way. I mean, who's come out? Who's the big rock act? Who's come out since? Like, who's the big stadium rock act that's come out in the last 20 years after Radiohead? I mean, in a way, they changed rock, but in a way, they kind of might have slayed it at the same time.
Yeah,
I
I'm trying to
mean,
think because, all the stadium
you got
bands that
the,
I still
you
see
still have
were all before that though. So it's like,
yeah. I mean, you have a couple. So, I mean, you have what you know, Foo Fighters play stadiums, but they're not on that ilk. That's a different kind of rock band.
yeah.
Um,
But they've been around since the 90s too. So it's not
right,
like,
exactly. So, but we
yeah.
got Muse. Muse plays arenas.
But they've been around since the 90s.
That's right. I
Yeah,
was
I
thinking that,
mean,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you think about it. I mean, well, that's a depressing thought,
I mean,
which
I
is a
mean the
perfect
band,
way to was a perfect
yeah.
way to end the Radiohead video. Bleak with no hope whatsoever.
It's none more blacker.
Yes. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. If tell
Good
us what you
time.
think. Give us your ratings. Tell us what you think in the comments, and give us a like. Um, hit the bell for notifications. Visit us on Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. I will put a link in the description so you guys can look into all things Trimungus if you're looking for production uh, dealings and whatnot.
Thank
You're
you.
dealing with top-notch people. You're not dealing with amateurs here. So, um, yeah. So until next time, see you on Dead End Street.
All right.
Thanks.
Freeze frame.